I also feel like we need to have an open concept counter of how many times I've said it because I've lost track already. Today, we're gonna dive into the exciting yet controversial views around open concept spaces. These versatile layouts offer endless possibilities for creating a cohesive and harmonious living environment, while at the same time are near impossible to decorate and style around because you see so much all at once. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Literally an open concept space. Whether you're starting from scratch or looking to refresh your current space, here are my essential factors that you should consider to really help you design and decorate your open concept space to make it look and feel cohesive. Welcome back to my channel. If we haven't had the pleasure of meeting before, my name is Phoenix Gray, aka Design Daddy, and on this channel we discuss everything interior design because no one should be gatekeeping on how to make your house feel like a home. Oh, that was a good one. Oh, I'm smart sometimes. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Mr. Phoenix Gray, where you can see all my daily design advice. You can also join my free design newsletter in the description box below that answers all of the most commonly asked interior design questions. To open concept or not to open concept, this has been a fiery topic for some time now, with each person having a very decisive and concise view on whether open concept spaces are on their way out or if they are the norm. I feel like the work home situation drastically changed the perspective of how this design style has really orchestrated a space. But not to worry, because today I'm going to give you a breakdown on how to really curate an open concept space so it doesn't feel empty and awkward, or on the contrary, cluttered and overwhelming. The first and most important factor here is to define zones within your open concept space. This involves really understanding how to plan and use each area. Once you've determined the functions, visualize where key pieces of furniture will go. For instance, placing your dining table close to the kitchen for easy access while creating a comfortable conversation area with sofas and chairs in the lounging zone. I know this sounds pretty basic, but trust me, stay with me, we're gonna go over a little bit more detail. If it's feasible, use physical dividers like bookshelves, even large floor lights, or low-level credenzas behind large furniture pieces like sofas to really visually separate the areas and the zones themselves. These dividers offer a clear distinction between spaces while maintaining that open feel, grouping furniture in a way that fosters natural flow and interaction. So for example, positioning the dining table and chairs as a central point in the dining zone. For example, positioning the dining table and chairs as a central point in the dining zone and arranging seating in the living area to encourage conversation is one of the biggest mistakes I see people do, is placing the furniture all at a 90-degree angle, and it comes off looking more sharp and unwelcoming than you think it does. Just by having the accent chairs or any other accent pieces at an angle automatically fosters conversation in the space, allowing those angles to flow and feel much softer. I also want you to keep in mind that your space is going to evolve over time. I want you to plan for flexibility to really allow the design to accommodate changes in how you use the space. Modular furniture and movable dividers can really help you adapt easily so you aren't pigeonholed into using the exact same furniture layout, just rotated. It's really going to make it feel stale even if you move things around. This is the key to an open concept space because it's so large, you spend most of your time in it. It's much easier to get fatigued when looking at the same layout every single day. I always encourage my clients, and even myself I do in my own home, is to move things around and be playful with the layout. It doesn't always have to look the same. The amount of friends that I have come over and instantly notice when I've moved things around is always a good thing because it really refreshes your space for not only yourself, but for your guests. The fundamental principle that designers, including myself, often use to really craft a harmonious color palette in open concept spaces is the 60-30-10 rule. This method really provides a simple yet effective way to distribute colors across the entire space for a balanced and unified look. I'm not going to go into the math of it because no one's here for that, but I'm going to give you the cliff notes on it so you don't have to read read through Design for Dummies. It sounds super boring, but stay with me because I promise it's worth it. Your first is going to be your 60%. This is the dominant color. It's going to be your primary color that really forms the backdrop of your space. It's the color that you're going to see the most of. For example, in a living area, the dominant color may be the hue of your walls or even the flooring. Sometimes large-scale furniture can be categorized in that dominant choice color, but basically the biggest portion of the color that is categorized goes in your dominant one for that 60%. The secondary color is your 30%. This is the color that is going to support the dominant color and adds depth and visual interest. This color might be used for like upholstery, curtains, or even the rugs. This secondary color complements the dominant color while bringing variation to the space. I like to use it the same undertone here as the dominant color so it doesn't feel so out of place and too contrasted, especially if you're not familiar with how colors work together. Your 10% is your accent color. This is adding that pop of vibrancy that really adds personality and excitement to your design. And no, I do not mean the pop of color that most of those design shows put in, where it's just like a random yellow throw pillow that really does nothing with your space. Use this color sparingly in your decor. So I'm talking about like pillows, artwork, even decorative objects. This color should contrast or complement the dominant and secondary colors, but not completely juxtapose them so they feel so out of place. These photo references that Brody's going to put in are going to really show you how to articulate the breakup between the three categories of 60, 30, 10. I want you to also remember that this rule is just a guideline. It is not a strict formula, so don't feel like you need to follow it. You can always use it to adapt to your personal style and preferences. And if you want to make it more complicated, you can add in those multiple colors. So keep it to 3 just to keep it easy and consistent for the meantime while you're exploring colors. Applying this to your space will achieve a well-balanced and visual pleasing color palette that really contributes to the overall cohesiveness of an open concept space that usually feels very overwhelming. I want you to actually have items that complement each other instead of compete, because you have so many sightlines that are including so many items and color variations. You'd be surprised how many open concept spaces I've been to that decorate each one differently, making it look even more cluttered than it needs to be. This is another controversial topic because I know it's not for everyone, but choosing consistent or even complementing floor materials is essential for creating a natural flow and transition between the zones in your open concept space. Carrying through the same flooring finish throughout the space whenever possible really allows an uninterrupted flow and can unify the space visually. I know a lot of people that would prefer to have a tile in the kitchen because of its ease of cleaning, but it really makes a disconnect and makes your space look smaller than the rest of your open concept space. And trust me, these photos do not do it justice for how disconnected and juxtaposing it looks. It really defeats the purpose of an open concept space. If you do prefer some variety, choose at least a complementary flooring material that shares similar color tones, textures, or even that undertone. So for example, pairing hardwood with stone tiles work really well if they share a neutral color palette. If you're using wood and laminate floor, consider maintaining a consistent direction, at least for the installation across all zones. This really enhances the visual flow and makes the space feel larger and more expansive. Please, please, please do not let me catch you doing different directions in the flooring in different rooms. It kills the natural flow instantly, and it just looks more visually jarring and messy and cheap at the end of the day. Incorporating area rugs are really great at strategically defining those individual zones. A rug under the dining table, for instance, anchors the dining area, while a larger rug in the living space really creates a cozy atmosphere. You should be able to see the flooring for adjacent zones without interrupted changes. This creates that natural transition we're aiming for in the open concept space. I also feel like we need to have an open concept counter of how many times I've said it, because I've lost track already. 0 chance. Okay, Brent, don't do it. Creating thoughtful sightlines within your open concept space is like crafting almost like a visual journey that seamlessly connects different zones. I want you to think about how your eyes naturally navigate throughout a space without interruption, while still being able to rest on certain points so your eyes have a rest. By strategically positioning focal points and considering how the eye travels in the room, you can really enhance the overall cohesiveness and harmony in the space. Think of it this way: the more your eyes are jumping around the space, the less at ease you're going to feel. Begin by identifying the architectural or design features that naturally draw attention. This could be a stunning fireplace, a large window with a scenic view, a unique piece of furniture. All of these are focal points that serve as anchors for those sight lines. Choose your focal points that allow and align in the transition between zones. For instance, position that piece of artwork or a statement chandelier where the dining and living room areas meet. This creates a visual bridge that guides your eyes from one zone to another instead of that feeling like your eyes are going all over the place. You want that nice smooth transition from area to area. Incorporating design elements that guide the eye along this desired path, this is really going to create that perfect transition for the open concept space. A long narrow rug can really have that visual pathway between the kitchen and the dining area. Similarly, a series of pendants can create that line that leads from your dining space to the living area. Think of using the design principle of repetition that really puts your eyes and mind at ease because it gives you a sense of balance. Minimizing visual clutter that can really interrupt these sightlines is really important as well. So keeping decor items and furnishings simple and streamlined. Consider using furniture with low profiles that doesn't obstruct the overall line of sight from space to space. But playing with varying heights of furniture and artwork, even the lighting fixtures is going to allow you to add depth and dimension to your visual journey through the space, making it feel multidimensional and more interesting to explore. While we're on the topic of lighting, that segues right into my next point, is lighting, I have said it a million times before, is the most powerful tool of design, and in an open concept space, it becomes even more essential to create a harmonious atmosphere that spans through different zones because you're visually seeing so many things at the same time. You don't want it to feel like you have these random twinkle lights everywhere that look disjointed. Flexible lighting design involves carefully selecting positioning lighting fixtures to not only illuminate the space, but also contribute to the cohesive aesthetic. I know I'm saying this a lot, but this is often forgotten about, or it feels like an afterthought when this space comes together. In my previous video, I went into the depth of the importance of ambient, task, and accent lighting, but we're going to review this more on why it's important in an open concept space. The essential tip for lighting in an open concept space is maintaining a consistent style throughout. This doesn't mean that every fixture has to match exactly, but you should share a design language or aesthetic that ties them together, like a shape or even the color of them that transitions and repeats through the space. Ensure that each zone has its own lighting setup to suit the specific purpose of the zone. Over the dining table, a chandelier or even a pendant light can create an intimate ambience, while the living area, a combination of floor and table lamps, provide a more cozy feel. Once again, I'm here to remind you that if you can get something dimmable or at least a plug-in dimmable switch, this is going to be a game changer because not every light needs to be on 100% of the time. This will allow you to really adjust the intensity of the light according to the mood and the activity if you're going to be sharing the space or even hosting or doing other questionable things. You really want to create an adaptable atmosphere so it doesn't feel like everything is all lit up at once. In essence, I want you to be able to have each area lit at different levels and different levels of brightness to really impact it. Another major issue with an open concept space is that they often fall very flat, which is why it becomes so controversial and why many people don't like them, because there's just so many features added in. Texture is a tactile and visual element that adds depth, warmth, and honestly makes your space more interesting, especially in an open concept area. Infusing different textures throughout the zones really create almost like a multi-dimensional environment that really can make it feel more inviting. Soft plush cushions and throws in the lounging area, or even a tactile table runner in the dining space can really instantly add warmth and visual richness by giving you that layered look. I mentioned before, rugs are a really great way to define the zone in our first point, but they can also really provide a tactile experience. So I want you to think about rugs with different pile heights, weaves, and patterns that complement the overall design theme while still adding some texture underfoot. You do not realize until you've had a great rug and the difference it makes in actually walking on your space barefoot. It completely changes up the entire zone and how you feel. Choosing furniture pieces with varied finishes and materials is another great way to really make an impact so it doesn't feel too matchy-matchy. Do not buy the matching dining room and the matching living room set from those box stores. It will absolutely kill the look. I want you to think about mixing wood, metal, glass, and upholstered surfaces that are really going to contribute to a more rich textural palette. For example, a wood dining table paired with metal chairs offers a really pleasing juxtaposition that looks and feels more luxurious than the matching set. Whatever you do, and if you can learn anything from my video, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it once more, do not buy the matching furniture sets from the department store. Do not do it, please. You can buy a piece from them, but no more than one, I will give you that. And honestly, don't be afraid to layer textures. Placing a textured throw on a leather sofa or a velvet cushion on a woven chair, these combinations sometimes seem a little bit out there, but they really create an inviting nook that allows your space to feel more thoughtfully designed. You don't need to match the same fabric choice of the furniture to the pillow itself. This is sometimes that usually gets people upset, but trust me on this one. Consider how textures actually interact with the color palette of the space. A really rough texture element in a similar color in a dominant palette can really enhance the connection between the two zones, giving you that cohesion throughout these spaces to give you that layered look. So for example, if you have, let's say, a green velvet dining chair, having a similar hue of green of the decor items or a throw blanket in the living room connects those two living spaces and gives you a sense of balance by repeating the color throughout the rooms itself that are going to continue on that visual journey. Lastly, creating an open concept space that feels cohesive and harmonious is super important, but it's equally vital to infuse your space with personal styles and preferences. I get it, we all love that showroom look because it is so perfectly staged. Everything has been put to a T, everything is styled, but there's nothing personal about these spaces. Achieving this balance between a unified design and your individuality really allows your space to truly reflect who you are, and if you don't have personality, that's okay. It really depends on the day for me sometimes. But while personality touches are important, I want you to also avoid overwhelming the space with too many personal items because this is another faux pas. Curating your decor collection and displaying pieces can really resonate with you, but also can really overwhelm the space, like I said. Curate your decor collection and display those pieces that really resonate with you the most will really ensure and allow you to contribute to the overall meaningful aesthetic of your design. If you have a particular theme or style that speaks to you, integrate it into that overall look. For example, if you love that mid-century modern style, consider using like a palette that has rich browns, greens, and even incorporating chrome decor elements. Tie that all together for that specific look. As you introduce personal touches, I also want you to ensure you don't overshadow the overall design concept. Because like I said, adding more of these in can really overwhelm the space. I want you to take that 60-30-10 rule that we spoke about earlier with the color palette and really apply it to these accent pieces as well, because it's going to allow you to achieve a visual balance by placing them strategically together so they complement the space rather than dominate it. This really means that you just shouldn't have every space covered in picture frames, otherwise it ends up looking like a display shelf at HomeGoods. Another great thing I want you to consider is regularly editing and refining your decor to ensure that it really aligns with your evolving tastes. This process keeps your space feeling fresh and reflecting of your personal style. I know I personally am always changing up decor items and coffee table books from room to room to really make it feel like it's new without having to buy new decor pieces. This is key, especially if you want to stay on a budget. Designing and decorating an open concept space is all about finding the perfect balance between unity and functionality. I know I said a lot of big words today, but by considering everything we've gone through, from really defining the zones and adding your personal touches, you can really create a space that feels connected and welcoming and uniquely to you. That's all for now, but I have to ask, are you for or are you against open concept? Because anytime I've ever asked this, it is always split 50-50. So let me know in the comments what side you're on. Be sure to like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. You can always follow me on all my socials at Mr. Phoenix Gray for my daily design advice. And if you're ever second guessing yourself, just ask, what would Design Daddy do? Yeah.